Hello, this is Elena with you. Today, we have an interesting client who came in with a gel polish. Of course, we will remove this polish, but under the gel, we might find a little or maybe a big surprise. Today, we'll discuss if the nail technician is responsible given the initial condition of the hands. It's common for people to blame nail technicians for ruined gel polish, saying, I got a gel polish and they ruined everything for me. Yes, like I have either a nycolysis or a burn or a fungus or something else going on. So what do we have here? We have hands, there are some minor overfiling marks, maybe some improper removal, or maybe she just picked at them herself and they fell off. But you know how it goes. And of course, there is a lot of very, very stuck cuticle. And here's what I want to say. What makes this case interesting? It's interesting because I found out from the client that her nails are done by her own daughter. They are also from Kazan, just like me, and I actually know her daughter. She studied with me. By the way, here's the thing. She said about her thumb, she said something always hurts there. And I looked, and yes, there really is some redness. I thought that maybe something is even inflamed there. We checked everything and found no inflammation. It was hurting, and on the other side there was just a small hangnail. Let's move on. There won't be any pus. All is fine and calm. So that's how it is. Her daughter does the coating for her, but she doesn't do it regularly. Her mom is very busy and doesn't have time to get to the correction promptly. Ultimately, she never reached the point where her daughter could clean it up for her. And in the end, things turned out this way and they decided to come to me. But here, of course, the mother won't blame her daughter, and that's actually a good thing because the daughter really isn't at fault here at all. Well, I'd say about 90% probably. Why? Because first of all, this doesn't happen with other clients. It only happened in this one case that we're observing with you. It's beneficial that they're relatives, as no one will blame the master himself. I'll explain why shortly. For a burn to occur, like in our case here, which has nearly healed on all other fingers, only the thumbs remain an issue. So for a burn to happen, a lot of different factors have to come together. Look, most often people like this suffer from allergies. Well, to something. Food, animals, dust, I don't know. So that already means, let's say, a weakened immune system in some ways. Also, these are people who have either experienced some kind of stress or are simply less stress resistant than others. People who are constantly anxious and concerned about things. Naturally, psychosomatics play a role here, but as they say, that's a whole different story. It could be some kind of hormonal imbalance, taking antibiotics and so on. So, for example, if you take me and this client, for instance, and if we both get our nails done by the same technician with the same base and cured under the same lamp, it's unlikely that we'll both have the exact same result. So it's not always the technician's fault. Do you understand? Yes, there are reasons like, for example, too thick of a base layer and too high of a power setting. For example, on the lamp, the nail plate might be overfiled, but it could also be detached. Yes, so when the client says, oh, it started coming off by itself, I picked at it and it just came off. So it's a thinned nail. Of course, the chances of getting a burn are much higher in that case. That's why I have a very, very big request for everyone. Before you start blaming someone in this situation, you really need to dig deeper and figure out why this could have happened. In other words, you need to analyze it. And the saddest part of this situation, unfortunately, is that most likely there will be a recurrence, meaning this situation will repeat itself after the nails grow back. This has happened to her before and will likely continue in the future. So this is already the state of her body, and honestly, I don't know how to get rid of it except by stopping the use of gel polish, gel polishes, gels, lamps, and all of our equipment. But there is a solution. I'm already halfway there. I've even found it in Kazan, who sells these systems here. There's also some company, I think it's called Nylac. There are other foreign manufacturers who sell these things too. You know, you apply a clear liquid, kind of like a clear polish, then dip it in powder, apply the clear liquid again, dip it in powder again, and in the end you have a sort of coating. But you don't need to dry it, it hardens in the air. But it's not really acrylic powder, it's some other kind of stuff. Anyway, I found this thing in Kazan and I plan to eventually cover one of my burn patients with this system to see how it works. According to reviews, it's actually pretty good. It holds well, it's thin, and it's comfortable to wear. But the only thing is you can't build the architecture with it. You can't make all those apexes we like. But I think that as an alternative, as another option for long-lasting coverage for people who have these kinds of burn issues, it's also a great solution. There, for example, you can use stickers and sliders for design. Yes, of course, you can't really paint with gel polishes. But by the way, watercolor is still an option, the regular Leningrad watercolor that we paint with brushes. So there are options, we'll give them a try. Write in the comments if you want me to buy this powder system, whatever it's called. I still need to find out the correct name. Well, basically the one that doesn't need a lamp. And if you're really interested, I'll buy it. It looks like training is available. I should probably take it first to avoid making mistakes. I'll learn it and show you. Well, I hope the manufacturers won't mind because this needs to be shared with everyone since I'm not the only one who has these problems. So the moral of the story is this. What I wanted to say is that you shouldn't rush to blame the technician, the material, the lamp, or anyone else. You should always try to understand the situation first. There is always a cause and effect relationship, and by the way, we only work with the effects. After all these conditions and all this cleaning up are just dealing with the effects. We need to look for the reason why this is happening to a person. And as I've already said in my other videos, but usually I say this about rodents. But here too I can say that it wouldn't hurt to see a psychologist. And when I say see a psychologist, it doesn't mean I'm saying that you're sick or crazy. No, it's just that each of us has some problems or questions that, well, maybe, not maybe, but most likely a psychologist can help you solve. It's not the type of psychologist who'll have you lie on a couch, like in movies, and ask about your problems or relationship with your parents, in that typical way. No, of course not. Nowadays, there's a completely different kind of psychologist who solves these kinds of problems. And I'm telling you this as the daughter of a psychologist. Yes, my mom has been a practicing psychologist for over 20 years. And now I'm going to advertise my mom, but I can really vouch for her. If anyone needs it, just let me know. I'll leave her contact information and you can reach out to her because she also works via video calls. If you're interested, remember that she's not the only psychologist out there. Other specialists are available too. Anyway, the choice is yours, but one thing I can say for sure is that this kind of problem needs to be addressed. If this is happening, these are clear signals from your body. The work here involves more than just a psychologist. While they focus on your mental well-being, I'll handle the other aspects. But of course, you also need some external interventions. That is, consult a dermatologist and get prescribed medications. For those against medicines like myself who really dislikes them, there are alternatives. There was a lot of propaganda about that recently. Anyway, there are other options. Now there are a lot of natural oils available. And this time I also decided to try Monarda extract or a Monarda oil, basically that popular thing. The only thing I know is that it's very expensive and I found it from another brand. They released a new product, this brand is called, and they have it. This oil for 12 milliliters I think costs only 200 rubles. So it's not those outrageous prices you usually see, it's just 200 rubles. This is one option, and I have this oil. Here it is, by the way. Yes, Monarda extract, the composition of Monarda oil. You can see it, right? There, I showed it on purpose. So I also took this for testing and gave it to a client for home care. I always show the client that moisturized nails with oil look much nicer than dry ones, which look all unpresentable. I always show and explain that you need to do a self-massage when applying the oil. First of all, it calms your nerves, so you can even meditate a little. Monarda oil is said to have an unpleasant smell, but despite my sensitivity to odors, I found it quite pleasant. This is what the nails look like. After cleaning, we cleaned absolutely everything. We used 105 million different tools. We used nippers, bits, and did everything you can imagine, so this is how they look now. They are oil moisturized. I told her to apply it systematically and regularly. The oil is all natural. Let's see what the result will be. So, we wait. And you, please share your opinion and leave comments. Reading is always important and interesting to me. Bye. This was Aliona with you. See you next time.